セットライズと逃げろ。誰でもドトできる。誰でもスキルを稼げる。ガバナンスまである。中集権のメディアはもう終わりだ。
真相から立ち上るインクと真実がぶつかる。リバヤさんニュース開かれる海嘘はない。夜で書いて氷結しろ。力はみんなのもの。いい霞をたたえろ。ニュースは君のものだ。
レバヤさんニュース。レバヤさんニュース。
What's up, everyone? The Advisor here, Leviathan News. This is a Wednesday, April 22nd. Nice to be on. Wasn't here last week. Hope everyone's okay. And I'm actually very excited for this one. I know I always say that, and I always am, but this one is actually very special because we're actually doing the first episode of a new show that we've been talking about for a while now, with one of our best friends of Leviathan News and the show, and definitely one of my favorite people in the space, Token Bryce. We all know him, aka the mad stablecoin scientist. How are you, kind sir? Nice to have you on. Excited for this one.
What an intro, man. You're gonna make me blush. Doing good. We have a lot to talk about. Excited about this one. And maybe to give a bit of a spoiler alert. But, in the middle of this grim and doom, I was literally saying to a friend in DM, but now I'm going to say it publicly. The last events that happened are extremely positive for the mid, short, and long term of DeFi. I know it's not obvious when you see people losing money and panic happening, but I will expand on this. I guess if I say it like this, I will be misquoted. But I think in the long term, it's a good thing that it happened. And I am aware of, people lost money. This is not a good thing, obviously, but you need to consider the broad picture here. And the broad picture is pretty positive, I think, for DeFi. We'll get into it.
And I like that for starters, to be honest. And you know what? I actually, in a way, I tend to agree. I wrote a post yesterday that it was actually after watching that Mitch and Mark Zeller were agreeing about something. And in a way, I think that whatever's going on, it really makes like the people actually involved and engaged within DeFi like more aligned and like it. Tough times often like glue people together. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
actual purpose, and also like it's not a nice way to describe it, but like this cleanup of like whatever shouldn't be here. And only like the actual noise in the industry on many levels of noise. In the long run, it's good thing. Like it's not good for those who have lost 300 or 600.
Of course.
Recently, unfortunately.
But yeah, I've been, memeing this that we need to purge a space with my flammer. Well, you guys didn't want my flammer. You got the North Korean purging the shit out of the space. And to be honest, I don't care. I'm just happy the purge is happening. I was hoping, it would happen through communication, through people understanding that, laying, staking, and restaking and all kinds of insane risk on top of one another is maybe not a good idea. But obviously, it didn't work this way. We were not able to carry the message across. But I think, traumatic events like these are a very good device to achieve this. Like we can, we can get a bit more into the detail. But if you think of this one, it's like a 4 shots for one, right? Because it's expliciting to people what the fuck is even restaking to begin with. Like, are you aware? There is literally zero product market fit for this whole 12 billion industry. It's complete bullshit from A to Z. Look at how much they're selling in terms of validation. They're selling nothing, okay? It's pure economics game that we made on top of staking because we thought it was cool.
Yeah.
So that's the first layer. The second layer is like just use Avi. Well, I hope you understand that no, you don't just use Avi. Like Avi, like every other protocol, can fail and did fail. Then there is a third layer of those bridging. Most of the bridges are insane, especially those layer zero setup. No, it's public knowledge. And the fourth and probably most important is layer twos are bullshit as well. Look at all layer twos. Not a single one are stage two. How old are they? Like what, 5 years, 6 years now? What are they doing? You know which one is likely to be the first one to be stage two? It's fucking Base. Base. Can you picture it? Optimism and Arbitrum, the guys are building for like half a decade, and nothing happens. We got lucky, they got stage one, and then Base decide to away from Optimism, build their own stack, and what I'm getting, maybe 6 months from another stage. I killed you.
Man, that was so good. That was so good. And I think Ike already has like a few clips to cut. That's for sure. And the show is already going better than I.
Oh, I need to
thought.
retweet. I forgot. Sorry, I will do that when you.
Yeah, we didn't even
give me your thoughts on
retweet
this.
myself. I didn't even do the post myself. And you know what? Before we actually dive into that match, let me at least present this week's Squid Pass winners. So I'll get to that at some point. But it's actually good because before after the last time we've done this, I'm pretty sure. No, maybe it wasn't Ike. Maybe it was another team that like they tell me that I'm presenting the Squid Pass winner too early. Like I'm not giving the guest the time to speak early enough. So this time I think on that aspect at least it went well. And our Squid Pass winners of the week are actually, again, Rak, aka Regnumor. Let me present the website. A DeFi it will be easier for me. A DeFi lending and borrowing ecosystem powered by real-world assets. Shout out to K Crusher, MD, and Florian, the team. Thank you for your support. Appreciate you guys choosing Leviathan News again and winning yet another auction. Wasn't a lot of competition, like Token Rise didn't notice the auction probably this week. So it was an easier competition than usual. But someone is already said on the group there that he's building a bot in order to always participate because he's never on time. So hopefully next week will be competitive. Rack builds stable coins backed by precious metals. Relates to something that you told me before the show, by the way, Bryce. And facilitates on-chain borrowing against real estate, capital markets, and more. Let me just also present their message of the week. This is the pinned post on our Leviathan News X and Telegram for the week. That's what the Squid Pass winners get, other than a shout out on the streams like this one. RAC mid-month yield report is out. Dive in to understand how RAC's curve finance governance position is transitioning into real yields and what that means for your capital right now. You can check out the full report on their blog. The yield report mid-month. Shout out RAC. Thank you so much for choosing Leviathan News again. And okay, Bryce, let's get into it. I was really expecting this show. One of the things that I actually wanted the most ever since we had the idea of Leviathan News and the show, and especially ever since we've really started decentralizing things, at least trying with inaugurating Squid DAO and voting about stuff, and to bring on other people and do some shows, whether it's with me or with other creators or just by themselves. It's always one of the bigger challenges on how to even make people actually do it and incentivize them, and mostly how to create like interesting content for the audience. And recently, I've started doing something which, in a way, is kind of similar, I think, in concept to what we're about to do here. I've started doing this show with Tyler, one of the founders of Volt's FYI. We're calling it the Vault Report. And actually, we've already done like 3 episodes. And it was after we've done like a first idea, and we like we take a few vaults, we present them, and like how it actually works, where the yield actually comes from, this kind of stuff, and also like talking about some news and stuff. And I think that people like vaults, people like yield, people like that kind of stuff. And I think with Leviathan News, it's very natural to also take it to like into some kind of a new show with you guys at Pharos, because honestly, I think that what we talk about the most and what interests us the most, at least me, and these days I'm doing like basically most of the shows on Leviathan News, is stablecoins. Stablecoins actually run the world. Like it took me a few years in crypto to understand that and to really get into it, but like all the real money that is in crypto is stablecoin money. Like if you want to have one of the things I've learned, and again it took me a while, but only after Noah Seidman, Captain Rational, if you know who it is, kept telling it like over and over, that the only stat, or like the first stat that you actually need to look at in order to get some kind of a sense of what's actually happening in the market and how much money really is in the system, is the stablecoin
Total market cap. Yes.
total market cap. Because general market cap, it's such a noisy metric. You know what I mean? Like, what does it matter if like the total market cap is X, if it can be half an X the next day? And with stablecoin, it's often not exactly the same thing. And I think that you guys in Pharos, you are taking like stablecoin stats to the next level, I must say. I'm already using the site myself, and I really think that we've had an interview on it. I was fortunate to have you on my show. Like the first ever interview I think you've done on Pharos was with me here. And really, you guys have taken it to the next level. You're already covering more than 200 stable coins, I understand. And I think you want to share your screen here. So
Oh yeah, can you see it? Or I just wanted to put the chart because it's a perfect chart to.
yeah, let's.
It's this one. Up. I'm zooming a bit, so is bigger to see. But we can see that we are at the total stablecoin market cap all-time high. As simple as that. It's a very timid, gentle all-time high. It's not like we tripled the previous all-time high. But I think
What's
it's
the number
interesting.
right now? What's the number, by the way?
Around, depending of how you count, around 320, 330 billion total in stable. Because there is like, do you count the gold in there or not? If you count the gold, you have 10 more BD. I myself consider the gold, like Zot and Pax Gold as stablecoin as well. They're just stablecoin tracking gold, just like we have stablecoin tracking euro or franc Suisse. But some people are not of that opinion. So depending on your assumption. But anyway, even on the pure dollar, we are at all-time high. But you see the chart.
What is the total like dollar stablecoin market cap? Do you have that kind of stat?
Total pure dollar, yeah, that would be around 330, something like that. 300. This chart has a bit of filter, but yeah, the non-dollar is so small. It's 2% of the market or something, so it doesn't change so much of the figure. The more important point is we are at all-time high. It's a timid all-time high, compared. We're not like 50% above the previous, but the more interesting thing I think is the trend, right? You can see how the markets go through phases. We had this huge growth, 2020, 2021, then 2021 to 2024. So like for like 3 years was pretty much a downslide plateau, and then since January 2024 it resumed an upside, and it's pretty much sustained since then at different pace. And it seems right now we are potentially at the beginning of a new acceleration of that uptrend. So this is, exactly on your point that there is movement on the stablecoin market, and it's interesting.
And it also touches on your point from the beginning of the show. I think that, things are actually, in a way, very optimistic, and we're much in a much better position than we thought, because I guess that DeFi is alive after all.
Of course, DeFi is alive. DeFi can literally, by definition, not die, cannot die. So,
I like
uh,
that concept.
but yeah,
So,
maybe when we're on the trend, because I was just shooting on the poor non-USD stable, but interesting to see those two following charts that show you a bit the trend of the non-USD share of the market through two different lenses, right? So on the left side, you have only stablecoins tracking a fiat that is not USD. So euro, franc Suisse, CHF, yen, ruble, real, you name it. On the right side, you have all the stablecoins that are not dollar stablecoin and the share of the market. So altogether, all the non-dollar are 227% of the market. But what's interesting and what this chart shows you is in green, you have the share of the fiat non-USD, and in yellow, the commodities. And when we say commodity market is pretty much 99% gold, right? There is a bit of silver, but pretty much pure gold. So you can see that the gold stablecoin is the biggest story here. It took a big share of the non-USD market, but as well, the
what share? What kind of share does it have now? The
so
gold.
gold by itself, about 1.8% of the market is gold stablecoin.
And so most of the non-USD
Yes.
stablecoin market is actually gold right now.
Yes, so you will see it here. Maybe that's another way to show you the same data. But so this is the alternative peg, not USD, and the relative market share. So you take the stablecoin market, you remove the USD. What is left? What is left is 71% gold, right? And then what's more interesting is what come after. What come after is euro. So far, I guess people expect it, but then ruble and real. So ruble, the Russian currency, real, Brazil, right? So it's not the one we would think of, And there is also a context to this one. We can go deeper into this. Actually, I finally understood a bit more about essentially the bigger trend here is the Asian market is completely underrepresented on the stablecoins. And initially, I thought maybe,
Really?
it is that we don't track this so well because we're mostly burgers or Europeans. But I really went far to find as many as those stable coins I could find, and there are very few. So you have a few stable coins that are on the Japanese yen, including this one that is probably the biggest stable coin on Asian currency currently live, and it's 20 million market cap. I, by the way, discovered that there is a liquidity V1 fork on the GPY, so the Japanese yen, but it's kind of borderline abandoned project, but still boasting about 500,000 market cap. But the bigger story here is essentially there is a bit of so I don't know about all the markets, right? China, I think, is going to be a hard one to get info on. But for instance, in Korea, they're waiting on their little local equivalent of the Genius Act that is expected to pass this year. And there are already a lot of large institutional players in Korea. So like the local equivalent of Robinhood, let's say, a few major banks, and other like big fintech players like that are on the starting block to launch a stablecoin. So essentially the KW, the Korean currency stablecoin market, which is virtually non-existent right now, could pick up pretty quickly on that goes in. So there's tons of things happening on non-USD stable. I guess it's my story.
Actually, personally, I'm very curious about it, and especially because of my work with the Frankencoin Association on Frankencoin, the Swiss franc stablecoin, and I actually want us to get into that. But I think maybe we should actually start with like the bigger topics, which are actually, I think, the huge incident and the sentiment and the hacks and a lot of the stuff that you actually touched on the first 2 minutes of the show.
Yeah, we can get back to it.
Uh, because this is the talk of the week. Like my feed on X is basically
Of course.
all of these layer zero, kelp, Aave talks, and even if it's not only stablecoin related,
It impacts stablecoin, of course.
every everything goes back to stablecoins.
It's lifeblood of DeFi. So
Yeah,
maybe on this, can you put a link in the chat, because I'm not gonna talk so much about the technical details of the event. I don't think it's the most interesting, and that I'm the best person to do so. But this report from Oak Research is one of the clearest and most readable I found on the matter. So I don't know. Can I put a link in the stream or something somewhere?
you
Um,
can
or maybe it's just really
YouTube
easy.
one. Send it to me on
Okay,
Telegram.
I'll send it to you. But that's for anyone watching the stream. Oak Research on Twitter, and they are OAK underscore areas. As simple as that.
By the way,
Uh,
they were once also Squid Pass winners. Shout out to Artem Oak. He also won the
yeah.
Squid Pass at some point.
So yeah, this one I find is a good, like, if you're looking to beef up on what exactly happened, the whole implication, the connection between the provider is probably a good resource. I think what's more interesting is to talk about what we were talking in the beginning, the consequences, what it means for the market. We can talk a bit about this game of playing ball that there is between all the involved parties right now. Uh, there is tons of angle to that story. The myth of Avi kind of taking a hit here. I
Yeah,
don't
that
want to
is.
be graph dancing, but I was completely. I know I'm gonna say it publicly. I couldn't before because I would have been blacklisted pretty much. But just use Avi was the most retarded and most anti-DeFi things to ever put as a slogan, right? Because just use Avi, like, what is this? We're not in DeFi to preach shit like that, right? To tell people to just trust one platform blindly and not even go somewhere else. It was completely antithetical to what we're doing here. So in a way, I think it's positive. Uh, it's one of the positive consequences of this. Let's put it like that. That
Yeah, it was
it kind of,
marketing. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like just use Aave is actually great marketing.
Yes, but great marketing and what is best for DeFi are often
Oh,
exactly going in opposite direction.
maybe indeed. And also, like end of the day, the Lindy effect and the test of time, it's the ultimate test. And I really think that this is a very defining moment in the industry
But
where
no,
people are
I
starting to
disagree
ask
here.
themselves,
Lindy
sure,
is bullshit. Lindy is bullshit, and the current event are
Lindy
proof
is
of it.
true until it's not true. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, you have to be serious for a minute here. Lindy is absolute bullshit for 99.9% of the protocol. And I'll give one clear, exact exemption for Lindy: immutable code. Because when the code cannot change, there can be Lindy, all right? So like Liquidity V1 has been running the same code for 5 years. Uniswap V2, Uniswap V3, same story. The curve first pools and so on, all of this running for years, and the code saw zero change. But just use Avi, because Avi never had an issue, is a retarded person speaking, or a person with malevolent intention, right? Because the Avi you're using today is like 6 months old at best, or something like that. They're updating the protocol all the fucking time, right? This is version 3.6, even the version 3. Maybe it's a bit more, let's say 1 year or something. I don't know exactly the release date. But you get my point. There is no Lindy because the thing gets frequent update and constant changes because it is a mutable surface. So we need to be clear about this.
Another clip, Ike. I made it for you. I like your perspective as always. I actually mean that. Lindy is something that I think you would agree that Lindy is something that in life, in the real world, it means something. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like even if it's not true, it's what we choose. Like it's like saying that the dollar. Yeah, the dollar is basically backed by nothing, but we still use it all the time.
So what? The dollar is Lindy, but the dollar is literally getting butchered right now, and you also retard if you hold dollar. Like
Yeah, but still
literally,
everyone
last
uses it.
year
You
you
know
look
what I
at the
mean?
situation and you jump your dollar into anything that has any capacity to retain value, you're fucking destroying the dollar, right? You go in franc Swiss, you're up 10% a year. You go in gold, you're up 50% a year. So like Lindy, okay, but with very like specific framing, something that cannot change can have Lindy. Something that can change can have a marketing Lindy at best. Let's put it this way.
Yeah, in general, I agree with your point there. I'm just gonna bring us back just for a second here and shout out to Mark Vlad, your friend from DeFi
Hey,
Scan,
hey, Mark.
great follower of us. And of Frankencoin as well. Shout out Frankencoin. Always there. And just like he said, just use Aave, just like he says there on the comments. Guys, of course, if you're following, go and follow for now. Token Bryce, Pharos Watch. Check out their website. We're at Leviathan News. I'm the advisor. I'm streaming these on my channels as well, by the way, both here and on my YouTube, by the way. So check that out as well. So let's touch on the risk-taking point, Bryce, if you don't mind, because you've mentioned something that often is not said, especially not out loud, but it's actually such a good point. Me personally, I just don't understand what risk-taking is.
There is nothing to understand. It's complete bullshit from A to Z, and the fact that we allowed this to proliferate shows how much of a clone industry we are to begin with. As simple as that. Like, okay, one thing
I
maybe
didn't
to
understand it. I just didn't understand what it means. Like, I swear.
But because it's normal. Any sensible person will not understand what the fuck is this shit. Like, okay, let's do something together. You will see. We go on DeFi Llama and we take just all the protocol by categories.
Let's
Just to
pop up your
understand.
screen again. Let's pop up your screen again. Just a second.
So
Shout out
restaking,
DeFi Llama. What an incredible website, by the
very
way.
good resource, of course. Amazing. So look at this. Restaking as a whole is bigger than decentralized exchanges in
No way.
TVL.
No way.
Yes, 15 billion for restaking still after the event and all of that for like 13, 14 billion. We're looking at just the TVL of everything by category. So now let me ask you something for real. It's just common sense. I think this is the main thing we're missing lately. We need common sense. We need grounded people. So ask simple question. Does it make sense to you that liquid staking as an industry is bigger than decentralized exchanges that are literally the lifeblood of DeFi? Like, how do you do DeFi without Texas? What do? You do
No, but,
nothing. How do
but,
you do DeFi without restaking? But it's the same DeFi as it was before. It changes no fucking thing if you erase liquid staking right now. Restaking, sorry. Liquid staking is another story, but restaking.
yeah. I'm also
So
talking about
that's the first
like
point.
staking. I understand, like in general, staking I understand, but
Yeah. I mean,
staking,
staking at the fundamental level secures the network. Of course, we need that.
yeah.
Liquid staking and all of that, we can talk. It's already more complex.
Liquid
But
staking, okay, yeah. People want to
restaking,
trade their staked position. I can understand that.
but
Once they
restaking,
enter that risk-taking, I'm like, okay, what?
yes, restaking is like, the core idea is that, you have people that have stake token, right? And then they're gonna, so understand the full chain. You have people securing the network, they have stake token. Now we said to those people, oh, by the way, you can be liquid. We're gonna give you a liquid stake token. That's like, cool. We can do stuff in DeFi with a liquid stake token. That's a good idea. No, you have a guy coming up from again layer with his beautiful story. Hey, by the way, we could actually put those tokens, those liquid stake token, into our system and then revalidate other system. So take another level of risk here. And we call this restaking. And now you make more yield. And then you have people coming after that. and saying, oh, wait, by the way, you're restaking, but your tokens are doing nothing. They're just sitting here. What if we give you a liquid token on your restaking? No, you liquid restaking. And no, that pile of shit, literally, can serve as collateral somewhere. Because that's the root of the situation with Avi. The fact that the liquid restake token made its way as a collateral to Avi to begin with is and should be a story by itself, right? No, the biggest thing
Good point.
is,
Good point.
let's go back one step. Restaking. Do you know any use case of restaking? Do you know
No,
any
that's
protocol
my
that is a
point. That's my
consumer
point.
of it?
I don't
There
know
is
any.
none.
I
They're
don't
not
even
selling
know what
any shit.
happened to Eigen Layer, man. Wasn't there a thing? It wasn't like
Yeah,
risk-taking invented because of Eigen Layer, and now like, what's up with Eigen Layer? Sorry, like I
yeah,
don't know.
they're still dominating the share, but are they selling the in-game cloud,
Yeah, but what's
Really?
happening there? Like I know that they have
Nothing.
more.
Who will
Exactly.
pay for that shit? It makes no sense to begin with.
I
I mean,
remember
I
the
don't have the
hype.
latest number
You know,
in
I
mind,
remember the
but
hype
last time I
around it.
looked, essentially, it's not nothing, sorry. What happened is restaking as a market category overgrew by a factor of about 100x compared to the actual needs it's serving. So you follow me? So the capacity they have in restaking that we saw is 15 billion for whatever they're validating with that flow right now. If they validate, let's say, let's be extremely generous. If they validate 1 billion, that's already beautiful. They're probably not even doing that. Last time I checked the number, it was like 1% at best. So that's the situation. This whole thing got inflated because it was just perceived as a risk-free yield on ETH, which is not risk-free, of course. And
Yeah.
and this is how we get to the current situation and the looping and all of that.
And by the way, like I once you were talking, I was just realizing that at some point we would have had re-restaking.
Of course, you can push this to infinity, like why not?
You can always redo it.
Like really mistake and just we had this. Some people tried this with stablecoin as well, and like
What do you mean?
there was this like Lovers.io or whatever. There was a few protocols trying to do that, but I guess the fees give you an idea of yeah. I guess we could have. Let me try to see if we can get a fee per year. No, there is no fee per year. Too bad. But we can quickly do the math. So 12 times that, like 10 million. So yeah, if we're generous, they get 10 million, 10 million of fees out of 11 billion, 10 billion of tokens actively involved in restaking, which is, very minimal. I think can we see the fees here? Yes. I think this overview will be even more informative. Look at this. And yeah, that's the revenue. You don't have the fees here. Too bad. But I guess that's even better. I think that's the best way to judge the utility of something, right?
Yeah.
If something is useful, people are willing to pay for it. If people are willing to pay for it, there's fee collected. And then if it's truly a sustainable long-term business model, you have professional grade actor that shows up and they're able to generate a revenue out of that. Well,
Usually that's
restaking
the case.
revenue,
That's how it worked with
tracking
like
zero.
bread, for example. Like when people invented bread, at some point people started selling the bread for like money.
And I mean, like this is so informative. I love DeFi Llama for this. So you see, out of the top 10 that we see here, which is the biggest 24 hours revenues? It's the DEXs, of course, because it's the only um, category here that not the only, but it's the one with the strongest product market fit. Everybody needs a DEX, you know. Then the others are managing to generate some revenues because there is a need for it, but you can see that it's much more compressed relative to the TVL.
That's such an interesting metric, like to take each segment and sector and compare like the TVL to the actual revenue. It's like GDP in a way, like per capita.
Exactly. Yes, yes. So that's kind of my first level of the rent, on the restaking. Restaking is quite obviously bullshit. Uh, and it's time that we actually put this on the table and discuss it properly. I hope this will lead here. I think it started to. I'm seeing more and more people kind of, make funny comment with this Dave meme, telling the whole story of what is a RSS and things like that. I think that's healthy. So that's my first level of why is this healthy for the space. It's kind of a massive spotlight on the fact that, eh, maybe it's quite insane that we have restaking to begin with, or if you want a bit of a more ponderated version of this, restaking might have a use case, but restaking is massively overblown in size, in TVR,
Yeah,
compared
that's
to
the
the
point.
effective need it is serving.
Yeah,
So that's
especially like at a given time point. Like maybe one day there will be a huge market for risk-taking, but
exactly.
like, is the industry, like, is the market actually ripe for this to actually happen now? And by the way, like the good old days of risk-taking, like many times, like it's like buy the rumor, sell the news. Like it was all about like, oh, this is gonna be the greatest and biggest market ever in the world. You have to participate. Like that's how I remember like the good old days of the whole concept of risk taking starting. I mean, but anyway, yeah, I really tend to agree with your point that in retrospect, it's kind of weird that like this was acceptable as collateral in a way. And do you have any other like thoughts on what happened there in general about layer zero
I mean,
and
of course, it's just the first layer.
of this triangle? Like I actually asked a friend of mine about this because I seen like some different takes around like within this triangle of kelp, layer zero, and Ave. How do you see like the picture? Like who should have been in charge of what, and who is to blame more? Like
Yeah,
how do
it's
you?
a tough game to play.
Yeah.
Maybe just to give my positive before we go into the so highlighting that restaking is overgrown is first step. The second is, the bridges. The bridges we know are quite unsafe, but we act like if it's no problem. But if you look at the numbers again, the numbers don't lie. And I think there is actually a DeFi llama for this again. If you look at the hacks, a lot of the hacks involve essentially bridges. Those are the biggest value hack.
Share your
Uh,
screen again, Bryce. I think you're looking at something there that I want to see.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it, but I don't think you will have it by category on DeFi Llama, sadly.
Mm.
You have it by project. Uh, but anyway, and it's hard to attribute, but anyway, bridge and trusted setup in general are, where most of the money is going. So when people say, oh, DeFi is unsafe, well, look at the number, how much has been lost to DeFi hacks and how much has been lost to essentially a trusted custodian failing. The ratio is much larger on the trusted custodian failing side. So maybe that's another thing to have in mind. And overall, this layer zero question of uh, pretty unsafe default parameters with one trusted entity, and the whole discussion that is happening around it is also long-term healthy. It's essentially the whole story could be
Yeah, I
shortened
agree.
as short-term pain, but we are paying for the work we didn't do over the last 3 years. We let restaking overblow when it's complete bullshit. We're paying for that. We let the bridge propagate on pure UX UI, make it easy for the user concerned without a care for the compromise that it means. We're paying the bill for that. And then we let fucking Avi go around and just use Avi, and we're paying for that as well. And I hope that we learn from that. That's where I see the positive, because none of those three things were okay to begin with. And from first principle, that's why I really went back to this intuitive kind of retard approach. Like be retarded in how you assess DeFi. What is your risk taking doing? Oh, okay, you're reselling validation. Why not? I'm willing to consider. How many people are buying resold validation? Nobody. So why are you doing that? Boom, risk taking done. A 5 years old can do it. You know, and the bridge is the same. Oh, you're going across chain. You're trusting this entity, one entity, one wallet essentially that can mint infinity token with no limit. It sounds pretty unsafe, man. Are you sure it's a good way to do it? We can do better. And same. Oh, you have one protocol that makes for 60% of the TVL of DeFi, and you're telling people just use that. But wait a minute, isn't decentralized in the name of your thing? Decentralized means you're like using many entities, many providers. You don't have like one too big to fail kind of protocol, right? So why are you telling people to just use the biggest protocol? It's weird. Boom, case solved. Like we need common sense in DeFi, and I think this is a healthy dose of common sense delivered in a brutal manner, but still much welcomed.
That's the only way common sense usually evolves. I must say. Let's see some of the comments here. By the way, Moise, I think is it in French like that name? How do you say it?
Come again?
13% APY on 100% utilization and locked funds is the worst.
Ah, yes, yes, that's another interesting topic indeed. The kink change that has been done, and so essentially, if some of you guys were around in earlier DeFi, I'm not sure exactly when this change was implemented in Avi, but it's been a while already. But it used to be that when a pool shoot up to 100% utilization rate, your API as a lender would be in the 256% ish. I remember this figure. I got this situation a few times. They lowered this, and it leads to the current situation where people are locked in. Essentially, under the previous, let's be clear about this. There is reason why they made this change, and they can be defended. But let's be clear about this. If they kept the previous slope, the previous kink, right, the situation of locked fund would have not have happened. As simple as that. Because people would have been paid almost 1% per day to deposit the stablecoin here, and the market would have do what it does and bring money in, and essentially the people who wanted to harvest that yield and take the risk, they would have taken it, but the people who wanted an exit would have been given the exit. So it's an adverse consequence of the change to the parameterization of the interest rate curve that was made. Uh, they have their reasons for doing that, but again, it's not. The previous model had common sense on its side, I think, because now go explain to someone that is locked in that market, earning 13%, that's the price. Okay, you are locked, bro. You can't move your money, and that's
Yeah.
how much we're giving you. It's
By the
not a
way,
fair trade. It's not a fair offer at all.
this actually probably is on another topic, but it makes me think about what happened the week before with World Liberty Financial when they get a big APY on lending their like USDC and getting rewards in WLFI for it. But now people are starting to suspect, let's say, that okay, this is that USDC is never coming back, because who says that this loan will ever be repaid? I don't know if you've been following that story the week before, but like
Yeah, that was another funny one. But we have so much man to cover. I'm just showing on
exactly, like.
screen now the
And
market
by the
cap.
way, this again touches on something that I know that you've been working on with both DeFi Scan back then and also with Pharos. That when you want to judge a stablecoin or a protocol or whatever, you have to look at something called exit liquidity, like the liquidity window. Like when you want your money back, do you have it? It's kind of important, you know.
It's very important. Yes, and again, it's first principle. Can I get out, and what are the terms? Because my willingness to accept your risk will be very much different depending of if I'm guaranteed an exit at all time or if I'm not. And that's also why, for instance, markets are still waking up to that. Because if you go on Pharos, I have this. There's still a work in progress feature, but this yield
Sorry, I think
intelligence feature, right?
you want to show the screen. Just a second. Just a second.
Ah, yeah. This yield intelligence will show you that, you know, a stablecoin like Bolt, for instance, that as face value is only over the 30 days average, paying you 3 to 4%. it's still topping the year ranking, and for good reasons. Simply because here the exit is guaranteed and the risk is minimized. So essentially, it's a whole mindset of you have to assess a yield you're getting compared to the risk trade-off that you're assuming. And I think this is a mindset we never really grow in the space, because when we see how people are behaving, it's clearly not internalized, yet. Um, that simply, if you go back on this yield page, you will see that essentially you have all kinds of profile on those top coins, right? This top Pharos yield score. You have some coins that are more risky, but they pay you much more, and they're not even scoring as good. They're just part of the top. So, for instance, to put it another way, Pharos is currently telling you that a 5.57% on your USDS, that even if there is compromise with real world asset and whatsoever, at a financial economic level, you have guarantees of being able to exit and minimize risk exposure, is better, is more worth it than a 14.15% yield on APX USD, which is more of an unproven and risky stablecoin, if we're honest. It's very recent. It launched just a few months ago, and it doesn't have the same kind of guarantees that a USDS can have. It's using risky collateral. It has good redemption backstop, but still there is a lot of things here that are out of a higher risk level than a USDS or a bond. So this is the kind of analysis we need to be conducting on stablecoin space, and this is what I want to ease with Pharos. That's kind of part of the vision. Yes.
Indeed. Shout out again, Moises G. Yes, there is no incentive to repay loans or make no deposits.
Yeah. I don't know if we've seen it on screen before, so I can show quickly a few markets, but they are essentially same pattern. Yes, so you can see essentially the total supplied and the total borrowed are equal. So meaning the whole possible borrowable supply is borrowed, both on USDC and on USDT on mainnet now. I think on USDE as well. Yes, no, there is a bit of margin on USDE, but really not much. And yet, despite that, the supply API is 13%. So for effectively what would be a locked position at this stage, just to be explicit, in case people see this here and want their APIN, you will not be able to get your money out if you deposit now, simply because the whole market is borrowed. So if you deposit some funds here right now, most likely scenario is a locked lender will exit, and we will go back to 100% utilization, and you will not be able to exit. Um, so yeah, I think it's kind of showing a flaw in the design of these new kings. Like, let's call a cat. It's not paying proper for such situations. I guess they wanted to have less crazy API, and less crazy fluctuation of the yield, because of course on the other side this is paid by the borrowers. So if you're telling the borrowers, okay, have 100% interest, they might not be so happy about it. But the previous system had merit that those max utilization scenario were resolved. They were not locked in like it is right now.
By the way, we should touch on Resolve, on what you've told me earlier before the show. We should also get into
Yes, we can
that.
get into that. There is one more layer though. Layer 2s are bullshit. We haven't talked about this.
Yeah, you're right. That's another part that I want to ask you, and also like, okay, let's start with that, because after that I will ask you another thing about layer twos in the stablecoin context. But let's elaborate on that side of things. Like, when you say that layer twos are bullshit,
Yeah.
like, from what angle are you like saying that? Is it mostly from a decentralized point of view of it,
Of course.
or another one?
Yeah. No, it's a decentralized aspect. Let me just, so to go back
Maybe
to
we
what I
can
was
go to
saying in
L
the
to
intro.
bit for this
Yeah.
one.
So, we will go to L2Bit for sure. Optimism is 5 years old. It launched December 2021. Arbitrum is similar. Um, August 2021. So they're both 5 years old, and in those 5 years, they were still not able to reach a truly trustless state. So I think the important thing with L2Bit is that essentially it's cosplay until your stage two, to put it in a very simple way, in the sense that um, just like DeFi protocol, go fully immutable or go home, because if you're not fully immutable, most likely there are games that can be played, right? It's a bit of the same with the layer two. So a stage one might seem reassuring, but as we've seen with Arbitrum, Arbitrum is a stage one, and the Security Council was able to post a transaction on the user behalf that froze his assets. So whether you think it's a good or bad thing, I'm not probably not gonna go in that discussion today. I'll leave you to make your own thoughts about this. But I guess what I see of importance here is that it highlighted this for a lot of people, because it was not necessarily obvious that they could do that. It was not broadly discussed before neither. It was a bit of this the chain link multi-sig type of discussions where people know it exists, but then they brush it up in a corner and they forget about it. um, and I think such events kind of show that, well, it's not something you brush up in a corner, because who knows what might happen one day. Who knows what the Security Council will decide one day. um, you know, I don't know what you do in your daily life, but what if your government declare that you are a terrorist for whatever reason? It can happen. Sometimes, people that are a bit too liberal, they become terrorists. Some people that are a bit too pro-ecology, they are fought against with anti-terrorist law. We saw that in France, for instance. Or people that are too bit on the far right or on the far left, or
Exactly.
too much
Same
against
goes for
this,
the
too
other
much
side
pro
as well.
that.
Like if you're too libertarian as well.
You never know where it comes from.
You know what I
So
mean? It's all about like who are you messing with?
exactly. Yeah, don't get me started on that.
Yeah.
Uh,
By the way, to touch on that stage one, like because like, correct me if I'm wrong again, but I think that many of the layer twos, they were kind of in a hurry to go the stage one way. I don't even think necessarily in order to really get to layer to stage two. They just wanted like Vitalik said at some point that he will only talk about layer twos that are at least stage one.
yes, and that created a bit of a rush. You
That,
should
that
do
was
it
like
again.
the biggest incentive for layer two to become like stage one, but no one actually had like a huge point in going to stage two from that logic of things. And by the way, you've probably seen it. Did you see the whole thing with Scroll when EtherFi went to optimism? Did you
Yes, yes, the fees
the
fuckery.
fees stuff? And also afterwards, like a week after that, they've published that they're going from a security. They want to go like from a security council structure to a multisig. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see this part, but yeah, stage one is essentially again very minimal guarantee, and just to finish the thought, essentially, if you look at the state of the layer twos right now, you have two candidates to reach stage two in a reasonably near future, right? And those are not the one you would think. Again, not the Optimism and the Arbitrum that launched ages ago, but those are essentially Aztec and Base. And the reason are quite different for each. For Aztec, I guess, you see here, I sorted by stage. And you see that one of the only four layer twos in existence that are stage two, which are all very small, and ZK Money is like an old version, an old iteration of the Aztec tech, essentially. But that was a stage two upchain. And now they shipped Aztec straight in stage one per L2 bit assumption, but essentially the path to stage two is currently probably the shortest one of all the layer twos you see here. And another one that this one is more prospective territory, I guess, but we have good reason to believe so, let's say, is, and that's quite surprising because this is not the one you would expect, but as I was saying in intro, I think is Base, simply because you saw that Base about 6 months ago-ish moved out of the OP stack, right? And they started to build their own tech essentially independently, right? They are, I think they did one, or they're testing the first concrete update of the network that they're doing on their own right now, which is touching some fundamental stuff and mostly performance, but also setting up some things regarding validation that essentially pave the way to be able to potentially reach that stage 2 in a not too long future. So um, we will see, but those are potentially the one to watch for. But then again, back to some basic common sense. L1 is freaking cheap right now, so why even use an L2 at this point?
Yeah.
Let's be as blunt as it is. You're gonna
No,
pay
I
zero
understand.
zero one instead of $0.01 of fees, but then you know that you're taking serious security compromise essentially, and the recent event really explicited that, I think.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually what I was gonna ask you about next. Like, what is even like, like not only from a decentralization even standpoint, because obviously there's an additional like decentralization or to be correct, like centralization risk. What do you even benefit by having like funds these days on an L2 normally? Like only for very specific use cases. You know what I mean? Like for example, if you want to use Genosis Pay, you need money on Genosis. But
Yeah.
like it's all like very niche and specific use cases of why you need to do X on Y. Because in general, who wouldn't prefer their money on Ethereum mainnet these days?
So you see, instead of just use the EV, maybe the tagline should have been just use mainnet. That is a proper
Just
tagline.
use
Because
Ethereum.
this one
That's
is
the type.
defensible. Find me something that is more safe than mainnet. There is none, so just use mainnet. That I would accept. But even when Avi, a few years ago, was never the safest fucking platform to begin with, the risk surface is enormous. And I think Avi is still, a good protocol, don't get me wrong, but I'm pretty pissed by the risk misrepresentation that happened there. Um, so yeah, but yeah, to wrap up on those L2s, until the situation change and we actually have a proper stage 2 L2, and as long as the gas fees are pretty moderate on mainnet, which seem to be the trajectory with all the work that is being done network level to increase capacity and so on, and raise the gas limit and such, why not use just CL1? As simple as that. And it's still the densest ecosystem that there is today.
By the way, Bryce, why are these like stage 2 L2s so small in your mind?
Oh, those were like more, they're like app chain or very small. They're more like pet projects, pretty much. Apart from Deadca Money, that was actually used as a private payment network. It was used on Gitcoin back in the days. Inscriptions, I'm not familiar at all with what they do, but apparently they have very minimal activity as well. And this one is like bug bounty they market. So you see, they're not like general purpose layer twos like the one we are used to. Um, so yeah, essentially stage 2 are L2s, as in a general purpose L2 like an Arbitrum, a Base, or an OP. But stage 2 don't exist right now. As simple as that.
If we go back to stablecoins on that topic, like how much of the stablecoin TVL is even on L2s?
Oh well, I have just a thing for you.
Sure, I'm sure you
uh,
do.
So here, it's using, it's showing you the chain distribution of stablecoin, and the raw figure to have in mind is a bit above 50% of the supply, market cap of stablecoin is on Ethereum, and then
Yeah,
another solid fourth is on Tron.
of
So we
course.
love to forget that,
The
but
USDT, Antoine. You know,
exactly, you know the bill.
I
So
often
there
say,
is, yeah, there's huge
I'm sorry to
dominance on
interrupt.
USDT.
I just want to touch on one thing before you continue. You know, like I told you, like here in Israel, for example, no one knows about any other stable coins other than USDT, for example. And we will touch on like the new all-time high of USDT next. Let's touch on that. But like everyone, they only want USDT if they actually are willing to even consider accepting any kind of crypto. But usually they tell you they don't care if you send it to them on Ethereum or on Tron. And for me, it was like, what, Tron? Like who uses Tron? But for them, the Lindy effect of USDT is so strong, and the whole point of like chains, most people like who actually deal with this kind of stuff, like they don't even care. They just trust it because it's USDT. And yeah, I think that especially in the West, people aren't even aware of the fact that on the eastern side of the world, Tron is huge.
Yes, Tron is huge, and your situation is not just Israel specific. Um, Depending of where the listeners are at, I think this is a big of a, let's put it like this. Another beef that I have with DeFi is this huge bias of, I call it the burger bias, or Western Europe bias. Essentially, most of the commentary, especially in English, is made by people living in Western Europe or the US, and we want to forget about the situation in other countries. So we overthink the importance of USDC essentially, because in the US you use whatever exchange card, USDC. In Europe, USDC everywhere as well. But in the rest of the world, as you were saying, you go to whatever service you're using, and essentially what you will be asked for is USDT on usually a chain that is Tron or BSC or something like that. And whether we like it or not, it simply is the reality. And again, the numbers don't lie. You can see that together there is about 30% of all the stable in existence above on Tron and BSC. And
Wow.
then the USDT supply, it's like half of the USDT supply is on Tron or something like that.
Wow.
USDT
That's
is
insane.
190 billion, and there is 85 billion just on Tron,
That's
and then
insane.
another 9 billion on BSC. So literally half of the supply of USDT lives on those two chains. Um, and
That's
that's
insane.
also, I guess, a positive for Ethereum, which means, as you can see here, the stablecoin composition of Ethereum as a chain is much more diversified than a Tron, where USDT is 98% of all the
Wow.
stable in circulation on Tron. Versus on Ethereum, it's only 50%, because you have other big players as well. But of course, the big players are still small relative to USDT.
How do you explain the fact that in Europe you say that they like USDC so much? Like why? Because they want to be like US compliant, US compatible. Well, like,
Yeah, I think maybe one way to see it is, one is the compliant mainland dollar, and the other is, they're not uncompliant. Let's not, but they are, let's say, more like the offshore dollar. So like I found out that China has this system with its currency, right? Because you can take the currency out of the country, but then you have an offshore wrapper of the currency, essentially, that this one can exist abroad, and they have then exchange mechanism between the two. They're not even necessarily at the same price, so it's a bit of a different situation, but kind of the same mindset, I think, of um, essentially, USDC focus is clearly on maximal compliance. USDT is compliant, but I wouldn't say is as much of a maximal compliance focus for them. And probably that's, if we're honest about it, uh, what is part of the attract. I don't know. Also, just historically, we cannot forget that the track record is essentially cleaner on USDT, sorry, that it is on USDC, right? Because let's not forget that just a few years ago, USDC went through such a crisis. You can see it pretty well on the market cap historical chart. So yeah, it's a complex story.
you're talking about the DPEG, yes?
The DPEG, yeah, the SVB DPEG, and the DPEG resulted in a quite sustained decrease of the USDC supply for a while. So when the DPEG happened, it was about 50 billion, and then it pretty much divided by two down to 20, 25 billion before it resumed the uptrend, and essentially now is
Wh-
about 50% above the previous ATH.
Why did the DPEG happen, Bryce, by the way? I think I knew it once, but I don't remember.
It was a matter of TradFi retardness, essentially. Part of their assets at the Silicon Valley Bank, they were stressed about it, and redemptions couldn't be honored because the event unfolded
Okay.
over a weekend. It started around Friday late at night for the Americans, if I remember correctly. And so essentially, you had the whole weekend where there was
Because you don't have any
uncertainty.
markets.
Exactly. And for a while, USDC traded at 8% discount. I remember very fondly and vividly, I swapped some LUSD, all right, at a premium because people were rushing to LUSD to buy USDC at a discount of around 90 cents per USDC, and I used that to repay some debt that I had ongoing. So I was pretty happy on that day because I cleared some debt at like 15% discount overall, thanks to just having an LUSD stash. So, think again about this flow, right? How much are you getting on your fucking stable? Are you making 15% a year? You're probably making 3 4% on some risky stable where you could be holding LUSD or BOLD or FXUSD or ZCHF, some stable that actually have staying power that are not correlated to those risks. And when the market pop, you're going to be making money arbitraging the r- maximal risk taking of the other players that now turns into opportunity for you. It's just a game of patience.
That actually makes me wonder though, how are you confident enough to know that USDC will go back? Because that takes a lot of conviction and confidence,
Oh,
to
I didn't
at
need to
that
have what?
moment not to keep your LUSD actually and be able to actually buy that.
I didn't need to. I guess once the situation cleared out and it was clear that it was just a partial issue on the reserve. Again, this was debt in USDC I was repaying to free up some assets that were used as collateral, some ETH. So I was just looking to pay my debt on the cheap. I tried to hold as little as USDC as functionally possible, and my long-term stable saving, they are in more interesting settings. So right now, if I take a centralization risk, I'm willing to take it, but I take it on gold tracking asset because essentially
Interesting.
I don't have an option to do that until Polaris or Lord Savior is coming with P gold in a few months. But until then, if I want gold, I have to go centralized. So since I'm thinking of my stable exposure in terms of the centralized share, the decentralized, and then the different peg that I have, essentially I max a centralized share on the gold, and then on the dollar I have options to achieve this share in a decentralized manner. So I seize those options. But yeah, it's more like we're not doing Bryce trading journal here, but it was just like
Yeah, but it's always relevant. So, yeah, I think that the USDT and USDC all-time highs, again, just like the stablecoin all-time highs, they actually show that the industry is actually in a very good situation. It's still it's still not as huge as I think many of us are already anticipating it to be. But to be honest, the fact that actual capital right now, even with everything that's going on, the real capital within the system is as big as it's ever been, and also considering like the type of parties and entities that are currently being interested in DeFi and on-chain activity in general, I actually think shows the fact that yeah, DeFi is not going anywhere and on-chain is not going anywhere. And we will, of course, have more decentralized stable coins and tokens than others. But like the actual macro picture is the fact that on-chain is slowly eating the off-chain world and onboarding.
yes, uh, gently but surely, it's moving on chain. Stable coins are growing, and as you were saying earlier, it's usually a kind of signal indicative of the broader market. So there is optimism to be had here. Uh, even with all the trauma we're having recently. As we discussed in intro, all-time high for stablecoin market cap, even if it's a timid one. Diversification of the options you have in stablecoin in terms of models, but also in terms of peg. Um, Anticipation for quite a few regional markets to pick up. I was discussing Korea, but there are also others, in in for the pound stable coins. I'm hearing similar stories as well. And by the way, a pound stable coin is also one of the biggest mover this week. It literally
Really?
doubled its supply. It's
What's
still a
it called?
small one. The
What's it called?
tokenized GBP, TGBP. Uh,
TGB.
I'm I'm showing it on screen right now on Pharos. It's not faring so bad as well. It's a B minus, and it's your pretty boilerplate centralized stablecoin, but it's tracking GBP. Uh, Liquidity is still pretty thin, and what's interesting, I guess, is they have a bit more of a L2 first strategy. So you can see that big pools. Most of their big pools are on Base and Polygon, and I guess that's another story as well. When we were talking about the chain, is we didn't open Polygon, but I can do it now. Polygon is also showing um, quite. It's probably the most peg diverse stablecoin chain right now. So you can see it in the overview, right? Of course, USDC, DAI, USDT dominating across the board. But amongst the top stablecoin on Polygon chain, you have quite a few non-dollar. You have the GPYC, the Japanese yen stablecoin we were talking about before. You have the BRZ, Brazilian currency, Brazilian digital. And then you have
Most of the
another.
BRZ is on. Is it most of the BRZ that is actually on
No,
Polygon?
no, no,
Or,
no. BRZ is huge. Okay, most of the
I was
DeFi
told.
stablecoin you know the name of, it's bigger than CRV USD, mate. Okay, you understand what I'm talking about? All
I,
right,
I was told by someone actually that this is like
it's huge.
most of it is just sitting, or is it actually like moving and people are actually
Yeah,
moving?
yeah. It's mostly used in. Last time I looked at the flows, indeed. But look at this supply chart, the market cap. Sorry, it's
Yeah,
mostly
it's insane.
sitting on Gnosis and other chain. There is very few liquidity on dexes, but it's mostly used within like local sexes or their own system. So it's not showing much activity on chain, and it's a bit of the same story with this one, which is
Brazil
even
is a huge
bigger.
market. Brazil is actually a huge place, a huge market, and I think it's also a very like independent market. I was
Yes.
with
And there is another one growing as well, BRLA, more recent one, but gently picking up at like 16 million market cap. So
this is another Brazilian.
yes,
Really?
yeah, the market is much more diverse than what we think. And by the way, the real against the dollar over a year is plus 15%, right? So
Really?
what I was saying earlier, you have to be
No
retarded
way.
to hold
The
dollar that
real
much.
is gaining against the USD these days.
Yeah, CHF is gaining against the dollar 5%.
Yeah,
Gold
this
is
CHF,
gaining against
but
the
this
dollar.
CHF, I'm not surprised. CHF, I'm not surprised. Real,
Gold
I'm
is up
kind of surprised.
40. Its dollar is not doing so well lately in terms of
Yeah,
relative
yeah. Dollar
performance
is
to other
being
currency.
diluted. Listen, the dollar is being diluted.
I mean,
I
man,
hear,
even
I
the
hear, I heard
euro,
an argument.
euro is outperforming the dollar. The most retarded fiat currency of the whole world, which is the euro, is outperforming the dollar. Get that in. I mean, it's literally you ask every single economic person that has like, does the concept of the euro make sense in the 90s and the 2000s? Every single one of them say no. It's
Why
completely
is that though?
insane
Why
to
is that?
imagine that. I don't know, back then it was 6 or 7 countries with widely different economies are going to align on one single currency. It cannot work. All right, as simple as that. It would be much better if you do a design where you have an exchange system between those currencies, and maybe you have a kind of
Hmm.
euro that would be a bridge currency between all the European local currencies, with like a mechanism to stabilize the interest rate between those currencies to the euro and using the euro as a bridge, but letting each country still control their own emission, their own inflation to adjust to their specific situation. Euro
Yeah,
was not defensible at the design level,
it's
but
very
still it happened.
interesting what you say. I've never thought about it, and it actually makes a lot of sense because you're actually describing the fact that the euro is unlike other national currencies, which are actually national currencies. It's very artificial. Like
Completely.
it's not a reflection of like a specific country. It tries to be a reflection of like the European economy, but it doesn't work that way because it's not like one entity per se, which actually in a way like causes it. But even that today, you say, is holding back against the dollar. And I actually heard an argument. I think it was the Captain Rational again, Noah Seidman. Shout out to him, really my favorite like thinker in the space and YouTuber. And he said that like the US is interested in becoming something like that. Don't catch me on the word, like, but it's interested in becoming an export nation. So it actually has an interest of weakening the dollar.
Yeah, and I mean, Australian dollar, you have Swiss stable coins, they're also showing some growth. It's like the market is showing sign of picking up kind of on all those other currencies, mostly centralized player, right, so far. But there will be decentralized offering for this as well soon. Polaris soft shell again, of course. Uh, but yeah, I
When
think
is
it's
Polaris coming, by the way? Like, what quarter should we be expecting Polaris?
Q4 end of year. Yeah,
And
that's
and
still the target.
if we're already mentioning it and it's our new show, like, give us a few words for those who are discovering it for the first time. Like, what is Polaris in like the most basic way, and why are you so much into it and making it into a reality? And you once told me, by the way, on our first stream about it, that you've actually built Pharos in many ways just to have an indication and know that you will have some kind of a verification of how good the stablecoins that Polaris will introduce be.
Yes, yeah, I'm very eager to see how it will fare there, even though I'm pretty confident. I mean, Polaris is a long story, but if I had to tell it into a few words, it's a radically new approach in how we can build decentralized stablecoins. That essentially describing it as a stablecoin is doing an underservice because it's going after the fundamental question, which is, first creating a primitive on top of ETH that is better suited as collateral than ETH itself, or staked ETH, or of course the restaked ETH that are an absurd idea as a collateral, um, and then using that primitive to output stablecoin with an infrastructure that would be able to be harnessed by other teams as well. So the Polaris team, me and my colleagues, we were going to be building the PUSD and the P Gold, but we already have other team lined up for the PCHF, probably a P Euros, and essentially there will be P everything uh,
So,
eventually.
and the base layer, the primitive that you're talking about, is PETH, correct?
Yes, it's PEs, but yeah, PEs is essentially can be pictured as an alternative yield source on ETH to staking. Then it has its own flavor, but essentially it will be the most liquid ETH derivative in existence if we do our job right, because it's a bonding curve based asset, right? And that's what makes it so interesting for collateral. So Polaris is collecting a lot of concepts that have been experienced with in DeFi, but they've been used in widely different concept, in widely different situations. Sorry, and yeah, using a bonding curve to make essentially your collateral, your base asset, maximally liquid is a very interesting approach. I'm super excited for it. On top of PEs, we can build tons of interesting things as well. There will be other products on top of PEs itself that are not Polaris that we're working on. And yeah, I don't want to hijack the stream to do a chill. So I guess that's
But
enough.
I actually think
If
it's relevant data, because we're really like trying to give like a very wide program. Like, I actually really like the fact that we can keep it, and maybe with time it will change, but to really keep it like as wide as possible, as more of like a DeFi landscape talk, because it all comes back to stablecoin either way. You know what I mean?
of
And I
course,
think for many people watching, like, there's so many different levels of savviness within the space. And I think that only like this, we can really make it like an accessible show, not only to the very like savvy ones, but also people who are new and hearing about things for the first time. And like, yeah, man, there's no way we're not going to shield Polaris as well on this show, especially if we actually think that it's something that can really solve a lot of stuff. And speaking of solving and speaking of risk taking from before, it actually leads me to connect the dots and back to resolve. You actually told me earlier before the stream that you guys are considering back there at Pharos about how if you should be changing the status of
yes.
Resolve's USR. I don't mean to laugh, but apologize. Sometimes I make myself laugh.
So no, we do have a bit of a practical question, which is on Pharos, we have this cemetery, which is also one of my favorite page, because it's literally like a memorial to all the fallen stablecoin. We have about 80 in there right now. And I had a lot of fun with the page, right? I can show you a bit, but you can even.
Let me just pop it up. Let me just
You're
pop
not
it.
showing anymore. Okay, yeah. So here's the
This is
cemetery.
this is again for those who are not familiar with it. This is the cemetery.
Yes. So all the dead stablecoin you will find here with a little tombstone. You have a bit more context on any of them and link if you want to read about what they were doing and how they failed. Each of them also have their maximum size at the time before they blew up. So you have an idea of how big they were. And you even have some stats regarding the cause of death because you have several and things like that. So I'll let you explore. You have some fun features as well. You can pay your respect to a dead stablecoin, pressing F, and you will put flower on his tomb. Whatever. Okay, I had fun building it. And you can also download the database as a CSV if you want to run some more analysis on it. But yeah, so right now, as you see, an entry on a dead stablecoin is a static entry, right? It's just this entry with the parameters that I gave you, and that's pretty much it. Because all of these stablecoins were not tracked on Pharos at the time they died. Some of were, but I just moved them to the cemetery. But for USR, because USR we still have it as a tracked asset currently. As a stablecoin, they peg to $15, but it's still tracked. It appears in the base Pharos and it has all this data. So what we're considering, I'm currently actually building, it's no longer considering, is essentially I'm going to be freezing that page. So this historical data remains available forever. And you can see the whole history of USR and not just a static snapshot of it. And so stop collecting further data and move it to the cemetery with this data kind of frozen. But it's a bit of a further development for Pharos. So it's going to come. It's essentially a very practical question is, can we pull the plug on USR? Is it considered dead yet or not? We also researching on this. It's not exactly clear what's the status. I don't see how, to be honest, they're relaunching from here. But at the same time, we might be surprised.
Yeah, and actually, I'll try to ask you it in a different way. Like, what can Resolve do now to revive the stablecoin to change its future?
But I mean, sometimes you see weird stuff like, right, what was this random protocol on Solana, the Drift or something that got pawned 200 million, and then Tether showed up and like, okay, bros, here's 200 million, now you use
Yeah,
USDT and you go back at it.
yeah,
You
the
know,
Tether resurrection.
the Lord and Savior Tether bringing projects back from the dead.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Only Paulo will save them now. You say.
yes. They need the powder touch at this point, or something of that nature.
Man, that's so crazy.
But yeah, so most likely is it's gonna happen, and we can always move it back to active if they find a way to resuscitate it.
What
I think
was there ever a stablecoin so far while Pharos is live that has resurrected? Has any stablecoin gotten back to from the sun?
from the dead. Yeah, we need a resurrected section. No, I don't think we had any resurrection. Uh, in the history, there was some like relaunch of stablecoin, for instance, or things like that. But relaunch means the previous iteration is dead. So, for instance, in the cemetery, you will find legacy board, the first iteration of board, because board was relaunched with essentially there was an abundance of caution essentially on the stability pool, some situation on the stability pool that could have manifested, resulting in some people losing their yield. The situation did not manifest, but the choice was made to relaunch a protocol. So the board you're seeing now on Pharos, the main one, is essentially the board 2, essentially, because there was this legacy board Jeden before. So that would be one. There are quite a few like this that had several iterations, but most of them are just like clean, pure death. Most of the time it's team abandoning the project, counterparty failure, things like that. So you can see the cons here. A lot of them are just abandoned. A lot of stablecoins were launched, and a lot of them are abandoned. It's a bit like layer two. At some point it was in fashion to launch a layer two, and you look at the layer 2 ecosystem today, and it does feel a bit like a cemetery. You have a lot of zombies kind of sleepwalking around.
Yeah, you're
uh,
right.
so yeah,
Chains are
that's similar one.
kind of zombie chains.
Maybe I should have zombies in my cemeteries, like an in-between state. You'll see little USA walking around like
I don't know. I think zombie is not an interstate. I think zombie is after, like,
yeah, you're right after the death. We need something
like
in between.
next level dead. You know what I mean? Like, it's dead and dangerous. Uh,
But yeah,
Before,
so
Bryce, before we get into some of the comments that I want to go on and like make sure that we touch, and thank you everyone for like leaving some comments. We have quite a few from your Twitch followers. So shout out to everyone who's watching us on Twitch. A reminder to follow Bryce, Pharos, Leviathan News, and myself on X and YouTube and Twitch and wherever. But is there any other topic that we haven't touched on that you still want to share? I also don't know how much time you have. Like me, on my side, we can keep going, but I don't know how busy you are with the rest of your day.
no, I mean it's end of day for me, so we can keep going for a bit, no problem.
Go ahead, go ahead. So, because I'm pretty sure that you had some other topics before we went live that you were considering.
What was it? The US? Oh yeah. Maybe
Passing.
this piece we haven't mentioned. It's still very like emergent for now, but we talked a bit about gold, right? Uh, but there is also this category that is starting to emerge of uh,
Ah,
precious metal backed
yeah, that's
dollar
interesting.
stablecoin.
That's
So
interesting. That's interesting. That's
US
actually it
sponsor.
also touches on our sponsors, by the way, by Iraq, that they also have their own like gold-backed stablecoin.
Yes, PMUSD. Uh, Yes, so this is the PMUSD on Pharos. I'm sorry, sponsor. This is just a rating. It's purely data driven, so don't hate me. Um, but it's mostly coming from this collateral that is not, such a clean claim on gold as it can be in a stable coin, like an actual gold stable coin, like a XOT, for instance. It's more
What is the
reward.
difference, for example? Can you explain in a few words like what makes that gold and that gold not the same? In
Yeah,
like
yeah.
for the
In
measure?
simple terms, it's a more trusted setup, right? It's as simple as that. So if you take Xod, right, the collateral will be seen as very low risk. Because why? So gold, Xod, just to be clear for the audience, Xod is a gold-pegged stablecoin, right? The PMUSD is, as the name suggests, dollar-pegged. So for Xod, you have Xod. You need
And
a
Xot is, by the way, just for to those who don't aren't familiar, it's like the gold-backed
tether, tether
tether,
gold,
like
tether
tether
gold.
gold. Sorry, tether gold. Yeah, that's it.
And by the way, it's no small thing, right? It's like 7 or 8 times CRV USD. We're counting in CRV USD here on the
Uh,
lab.
how that's such a great measurement for DeFi people, especially Curve ecosystem people. So seven.
Yeah, it's funny, it's a scale.
And
Like
how
Bold
big is it,
is
by
one
the way?
tenth CRV USD,
Yeah, yeah,
CRV USD, Xot is 10 CRV USD, something like that,
yeah.
a bit less. Yeah.
How much is it in dollar terms, by the way?
You will have the market cap. Wait, on the homepage is probably easiest, but it's big. It's one of the top 10 stable, or around 2.64 billion dollar.
Oh, wow, it is big.
Yeah, it's not. Oh, I'm silly. It's right there. It's right there. So yeah, Xot. You have Xot, right? If you have 100 Xot, that's a redemption term. You can demand a settlement, and you will be receiving like physical gold bar. So
Really?
yes, but I mean, just like you can redeem USDT
From
for
who,
actual
by the way?
dollar.
Like,
Yeah.
who will give you the gold? Exactly.
Uh, well, it's through the mechanism. It's the whole thing about the gold is like,
So
uh,
basically,
I-
Tether tells you that they will give you gold
yes,
for it.
I mean, because again, the amount, just so people understand, 100 Xot is like, a decent amount of money.
Yeah,
One
it's
Xot is $4,700. So we're not talking a small amount here. We're
yeah,
talking
we're
like
talking
almost 5 million.
millions of dollars. Like
Yes.
you.
So it's more of an activity that professionals will do whatsoever. Arbitrager, it's not your average person, but still, you have a direct claim to that gold bar, right?
That's insane.
No, if you go on a
That's
PMUSD,
like
like
whale
hopefully,
gold.
yes,
That's whale gold. Like no one's gonna send you a gold necklace, guys.
yeah. So like on a PMUSD type of stable, you cannot go, and there is no amount of PMUSD that you can produce somewhere to physically redeem gold, uh, because to begin
As the
with,
user, you mean? As the user itself, you mean?
yeah, as the user itself, and
And
and and
and by the
yeah,
way, like I think a better comparison then with something like PMUSD will be that other token you were
we will
mentioning.
get into it. Yes, yes. Um, but essentially, it's tokenized gold held by a custodian that is not, as far as I understand, offering this redemption route. So that's part of the reason uh, why it's not faring so well. But now you have another interesting one that emerged in that category, and you will see the collateral is considered more risky because it's Xot, So it's more risky than a bit less risky than PMUSD that is deemed high risk. This one is deemed medium risk, but it's still more risky than the very low risks that are those physical gold bar, which is a decent collateral for a stablecoin. So in the case of Alloy Tether, AUSDT, not the IVUSDT, but Alloy Tether, which is a kind of a new one that they started to ship out recently, it's pretty straightforward. It's a Tether dollar, but backed by a XOT collateral, so a Tether gold collateral. So
The
essentially,
Xot dollar. Let's call it the Xot dollar.
it would be the XOT dollar, I guess, in a way. They called it the alloy tether because maybe
Alloy.
eventually they're gonna have other alloys. I don't know. Maybe they will do a tether silver, and this will become backed by a basket of alloys. Who knows? Um, but so it exists. It has 50 million supply, but as you can see, there is a
Wow.
very
It has
minimal.
50. How much is 50 million? Like it's a fifth of a CRVUSD? How
A,
much is it in
a sixth of
CRVUSD?
a CRV USD if we count on CRV USD. But yeah, it's Tesla style implementation, so you will have like decent amount of transparency whatsoever, proof of reserve, and so on. The main thing to note though is that there is pretty much virtually no existence on chain in terms of liquidity. There is 10K on curve, and that's it. Because
10K.
essentially 10K, yes, you heard me right, 10K, $10,000, not more. Um,
Okay. That's
because
only.
essentially
So where can you buy it?
it's directly minted and redeemed so far. Through the direct route
so there's
with
no
Tether.
actual volume of trade going on so far on
So
Dexes.
far, no, it's not integrated into DeFi or whatsoever.
But and how long is it in existence? Like it's a very new
Uh,
thing, right?
yeah, it's been a few months since January. Pharos has the first record of it. Maybe it was a bit before, but it shouldn't be much before. So yeah, it's like kind of just to have on the radar at this point. There is nothing much interesting here yet, but that could move. But again, um, it's the whole thing about I mean, this one is dollar pegged, but at least it's not dollar backed. So there is, the whole landscape of stablecoin is expanding in peg, in collateral, and yeah, I really much welcome this. I'm pretty happy about this. Uh,
Yeah, it's actually cool.
just kind of makes
Are there
sense.
are there other gold-backed dollars like Alloy, Tether, and PMUSD
No,
that you're
those are the
familiar with?
two, I think.
Ah,
But
okay.
the gold stablecoin market is quite diversified at this point.
Yeah, well,
Um,
I only know actually about two. I think
there,
XAUT and PAX-G.
so I have 8 in total on Pharos.
Ah, wow.
Um, but yeah, the two majors, PAX-G and XIOT together, they're pretty much the same size, and they're making for like 90% of the gold market, if not more.
Ah,
Uh,
PAX-G is also that big.
yeah, PAX-G is pretty much the same size as Zod, just a bit below 2.3 billion market cap,
Wow.
and similar ranked by Pharos. So the two are they're not equivalent, of course. Exo tend to have a bit better liquidity, but they're pretty interesting, both of them. Uh, and then the others are like an order of magnitude below, right? So you have this Kinesis Gold, which interestingly doesn't track an ounce. So you will see the price is different, but it is still pegged. It's pegged to a different quantity of gold, right?
Ah, okay.
So that's why you have a different price.
Both XAUT and PAX-G are like for an ounce.
For a troy ounce of gold, yes.
What is that word that you're using? Triance?
Troy ounce, that's how it's called.
Ah,
I
Troy
got a
ounce.
bit geeky about this market because I had to essentially make Pharos able to understand that all of these things are tracking gold. They might not be tracking the same quantity of gold. So
Mhm.
Pharos does the computation. Is able to tell you that okay, even if
Wow.
KOU is only $150 right now, it is not that depegged. It's only 50% depegged downside. Because in my first iteration, Pharos would have told you, "Oh, this thing is massively depegged," because his reference was, a troy ounce, which is
Yeah. Okay.
4,700 right now. And you have other cases like this, like you have this GGBR that is like a tiny amount of gold. Uh, I'm not sure exactly what is the unit here. Maybe it's in a thousandth of a troy ounce of gold per token.
Ah, wow. It's
But
actually
yeah,
very interesting, and much respect to you for like being able to really take into consideration all that stuff and aggregate it. Farosin is an incredible tool. Honestly, it is, and it has so much data, so much more data than I can actually comprehend till now. But I think that it will only be good if at some point maybe we should do it as like a topic on each episode that we reveal like another
oh yeah, there is so much to. Every
trait
page
or
is
something
highly
that you can do
interesting.
with Pharos because it will be endless. Like we can keep going and going. Before we
And
move to the next topic, by the way, I
yeah,
just say
maybe just to wrap up on those commodities, because since we introduced this guy, right, the Kinesis Gold, so
Mhm.
a bit more risky than the big player, but still no small, about 1.1, 1.2 CAV USD to go back, scale. But
Insane. Is
so a
it
bit
on
bigger than.
mainnet, by the way, as well? Ethereum
Uh,
mainnet?
i- yes, it's on a few chain. You have the chain overview if you scroll a bit. Uh, It is on. Oh no, I don't have the chain overview for this one. Sorry. Where is the liquidity? It's it's mostly a redeem model from what I check with their own order book. I'm not sure exactly the chain. I'll check after stream. It's a bit weird. They're not as like DeFi composable as Xot and Paxi, but yeah, those guys, the same guys, Kinesis, also have a silver and the silver itself is about 0.9 CFV USD of market
Wow.
cap. So almost a CFV USD of market cap again.
Yeah, people like metals. People like
People like
metals.
metals. Exactly.
And metals have a strong use case, and I actually think that this will actually be one of the most growing markets. By the way, you know that there is another token that can be that can be backed by these gold derivatives of like, I don't know if derivative is the right word, but like these gold tokens such
Mhm.
as XAUT and PAXG. You can actually use these to mint Franken coins. Shout out Franken coins.
Yes, that is
These are
true.
actually
I forgot.
acceptable
Good
ever
call.
since like 2 months ago. They're
Yes,
they've
we can
been
see
like
that.
approved as collateral to mint this CHF. You can go to the Frankencoin app to actually see the exact conditions in which you
But they're
can
not making
mint
for
them.
most of the collateral, they go into that other collateral category. So 6% of the
Yeah,
supply.
yeah, it's probably very small. It was
It's
only
small.
approved like very recently, but matter of fact is like you can get another type of stable coin against them, which in this case it's Funky Coin. For transparency, I'm working with the Funky Coin organization and I enjoy it. And I will even show you a comment that we got from Johannes here later when we get to the comments section. Anything else that you wanted to show us before we go to
Um,
the comments, Bryce?
Maybe just one thing, because I know I'm gonna forget if I don't do it now, which is we just shared today about our funding model for Pharos, which is essentially, I'm covering the cost of operating for Pharos right now, and the goal is to turn it into a bit of a public good that will be sustainable in the long run.
Oh,
So we made this funding page that gives you a bit of transparency on our expenses and or where the money is coming from, which is nowhere so far, apart from me. And I'm telling you that story because we are on Give Us, and there is a matching round starting with. Let me try to find it. I have it somewhere. The DAO fund. Um, Let me find it. Take
I
a
saw
second.
something about it actually the other day.
Yes.
So
So
you
long
mean that
story
people
short,
can actually contribute to Pharos? They like they can fund
yes.
Pharos?
They can through Give Us essentially donate to Pharos, and there will be matching, so that will help essentially increase the impact of the donation. uh, oh yeah, let me show it. This one, this is the Ethereum security matching pool round, the DAO security fund and Give Us together. So yeah, all the info is on the Pharos website. If you find value in Pharos, feel free to move the needle here, and don't be shy on the amount. Again, because it's a matching style donation round. Think a bit of like Gitcoin in the early days. Even a $1 donation from a reputable account can make a difference. So yeah, that's one of the things you can do if you like Pharos and want to give it a hand.
Much respect. So people can do it on Give ETH, GIVETH.
Yes, but I mean, even simpler, on the funding page of Pharos, you will have all the context, the detail, the link. So just check the funding page on Pharos. I can show it again.
Funding
You'll find
page,
it in the reference menu.
watch. You know, there are so many pages on Faust that it's not necessarily that easy to find a page there.
I know. I'm struggling with that menu, man. But at least I made this thing that by default the menu is compact now and really give you just what people want most about. But then I'm trying to keep it also as a database that everybody can navigate if they want to
Yeah,
go
yeah,
deep into.
it has a huge amount of data, and maybe there are ways to simplify it, but I don't know how to do it. Like otherwise,
Yes,
I would have
yes.
designed
I'm not a website designer to begin with. I'm learning so many things with
not simple.
Pharos.
And also, like it's becoming more and more resembling of the style of DeFi Llama when there's just so much data that it's not going to be easy to make all that data accessible because there are so many different layers and ways to look at the data that how simple can it even be? You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't know how to answer it. Either way, if you want to support, go to the funding page, look for it on Pharos, and show your love and support to this incredible product that Bryce has built for us. Shout out to Ike for the incredible work that he's been doing as well, making so much content about the data being like aggregated and curated by you guys, and simplifying it in a way with his great articles. I think he made a brilliant move there by having him on Pharos. So big shout out to Ike Billion. Okay, shall we go to the comments, Bryce?
Let's start with the comment.
Okay, we already had the Just Use Ave. We've shared our thoughts on that. Same for this one. Let's go to this one from Johannes. Shout out Johannes. Frankencoin represent the managing director of the Frankencoin Association. He asks, if you remove looping, what is the true organic TVL of DeFi?
Oof. I mean, that's a tough question to answer, right? It definitely. I mean, I think DeFi Llama is doing decent amount of effort here to filter these shenanigans, but it's not easy. I don't know the answer to that question, to be honest. I'm not gonna pull one out of my hat, but definitely has a serious impact.
Definitely less than what is presented. Like a lot of TVL like is generated with looping. Let's say looping is not
Yes.
exactly something that is not happening. Let's call it this way. Okay, I didn't understand risk taking when it came out because it just doesn't make sense. I didn't understand it very much either, but let's see if it gets points up there. There's no sense to repay loans, make on deposit. We've touched on that earlier. This one you'll need to translate me, although I'm pretty sure I understand what it means, although I don't know any French. But I know a few words there. So I'll let you read it, Bryce, because you're the only one here who can speak French.
Where is the Brice de retour pour des lives. Oh, no, it's just
No, the one I'm talking about, the one on the screen, on our screen. Can you see it?
L'accent israélien. Someone is liking your accent. He can tell where you're from.
Yeah. There's nothing clearer than
Most of us, I think, are pretty obvious in the accent.
yeah, and shout out to you guys and all the Twitch viewers that are coming with you there. Another one from Twitch. What does it mean? Do you see it on the screen? Brice is...
Brice de retour pour des lives and a smiley. Because I was streaming on Twitch in French years back. So this guy is a proper OG coming from because I think last streams I did in French were like 3-4 years ago, something like that. And we have a few other. Loico was also watching the French streams. I think we got, because I connected the Twitch channel, right? So I think some of the people.
Yeah, people enjoy it. Like you should definitely keep doing it. Like people are watching. It's basically getting the most views are on your.
Really on the Twitch.
Yeah. Always like the most people connected there.
Yeah,
so
it's a DeFi friends community representing in the comments essentially.
Mark Vladigan saying probably apps or some fancy, probably UPS. I'm sorry, or some fancy delivery app. Probably talking about when we talked about the gold.
The gold redemption pass. Yes.
Yeah. Someone's gonna send you that gold. Don't wait too long. Let's say. Another one from Twitch. Thank for this great live from a shadow viewer. Thank you, shadow viewer. Much respect. Really appreciate
in the shadow.
it. You see, all the comments are from Twitch. You see it? DeFi I don't know if it's DeFi for real or DeFi France, but
DeFi France, of course. DeFi FR.
Of course.
Lalilul, yeah, I know him too. We even have like the OGest of my following are the luchadores holder.
Shout out to.
I hope you're doing your game every week, Lalilul. You need to top that ranking in the arena.
By the way, let's actually use this opportunity for me to ask you just before we wrap up. How was Cannes? I saw a lot of interesting things there. I know that you were there as well. How was it? Like, can you share
Oh
a few
man,
thoughts?
yeah, yeah. I had a really good time in Cannes. It was a really good event. Honestly, I'm glad because if you think about ECC, right? Brussels, and it's not necessarily the fault of the organized team or whatsoever. It's just Brussels is shit, right? So the event in Brussels was really not that pleasing to attend in general. So they were a bit under tension essentially for the next year, and they did a really good job on the first edition in Cannes. But the problem was it was so freaking hot. Like it was
Yeah,
really
it was
they
so.
got really unlucky there. First on the date, but then on the fact that it was in the middle of the heat wave on that date that was in July. So
Also,
uh,
it's like the season, so probably things are even more expensive than
yes,
usual because it's like the high season.
yep. So I think they found a really great fit here in the timing because it was really pleasant. You're just going out in t-shirt, but you're not dying out there. People had a real blast. A lot of people were commenting about this. There were a few quirks about the food or whatsoever, but it was really minor. Overall, the
Ah,
vibe
you
was.
had some of these posts as well.
Yeah,
Let's
I need
see
my
one.
food, man. I'm hungry when I'm at conferences. Sometimes I'm in a bit in a rush. I don't know how many things to do in a day, and then I go to the fucking bar and there is nothing, and I get mad. And I went on Twitter and I pooped the cake a bit, but it's okay. It's fine. I've heard from the other perspective, and also, we as a space are quite retarded sometimes, and apparently they got a lot of tickets sold in just a few days before the event, making it a bit hard for them to properly anticipate the effective food demand on the day. But anyway, that's quite minor because for the rest, event was pretty good. The conference themselves, I didn't have time to see much. There was pretty decent talks, very interesting talks from Alex Aero guys about their predictive model that they introduced there, and a few other talks that I caught up after that were really cool. Um, Side events, as always, were probably the highlight, including, man, I will give you kudos. That was first time I was meeting Johannes and a few other people of the Frankencon team in real life. I even met Johan. Yeah, Johan, right? The risk strategy guy.
You mean Paulo, maybe?
Paolo, am I mixing name? Oh my god, I'm I'm sorry if that's the case.
There's a new,
The newest hire.
yeah, the newest hire is called
Paolo, Paolo.
Paulo
Where did I get this Johan
Paulo Di
from? I'm
Stefano.
sorry. But yeah, that was pretty fun to see them all together. Really good
Ah,
vibe
and
with them.
Lucius. Maybe you also
Also,
met
yes,
Lucius, the inventor as well.
yes, yes. But I don't speak Spanish, so it was a bit harder. Uh, but yeah,
Why Spanish? Like Lucius doesn't speak Spanish as
am
much
I
as
mixing with the? There was a
Lucius is Swiss as well.
sweet. Aha, I'm mixing up with
Paolo
another.
is originally Italian, but he's
But there
also
is a
like Swiss, basically. But he's from Italian origin. But both Johannes and Lucius, like their main language is German, as far as I know.
but I don't speak German neither.
Me neither, but really.
But yeah,
But
anyway, so
it was very
it,
cool. Did you go to the
very
cheese
good.
event? Did you go to the cheese event?
Best freaking cheese event ever held in crypto, right? So let me tell you about it.
Let me
There
tell
was
you, Johannes is so good at events. You should have seen him.
oh
I was with him. It's in South
perfection,
America.
perfection.
You don't understand. Like he should have been like an event planner.
Okay, it's the end of the stream, so we can do some chit chat. But yeah, it was so funny because they did a proper cheese event, not like bullshit. We put 20 cheese on the table and that's it. There was like 4 plates of cheese by organized by category. Like
Yeah,
a
with
French
themes.
person
Yeah,
with
I
cheese.
was on the
So
group of
like
the organization.
there was a plate of blue cheese, with like 15-ish types of blue cheese. It was so funny to see the people that are not so familiar with cheese loading their mind at the idea that there could be, such a diversity in it. Really good wines as well. So it was funny
Really?
because I ran into a few other French mates at the event that are like me now living out of France. And pretty much we got to the event and all we did for an hour is eat cheese like lunatic, and then at some
Especially if you say that you didn't have anything to eat during the conference itself.
yes, pretty much with really good jam and proper bread. It was perfect.
Much
Really good event.
respect. Shout out to him and shout out to Chain Security as well. The
Yeah,
event was
co-organizing
co-hosted
it.
by Chain Security as well. I know that Emily there and Clara, they had a lot of work beforehand. So much respect to them. Together with Johannes, they actually made it possible. Let me tell you, the group. I was on the group of them organizing the event and I got to see like all the back end side of things of how the event took place. Let me tell you, they've taken it like really seriously. It was also very funny to be there on the group with some laughs, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it was
like
well done.
the event was planned a long time and taken very seriously. Like Johannes really believes in the fact that a good event does a good impression on people, and it really creates a specific vibe, and people
It's exactly
are able
true.
to actually really benefit a lot more if the event is actually good.
It's
So
actually extremely important, to go back in a bit of trivia. But in the early days of DeFi France, of course, we didn't have much money,
when
so
did
we
it
just
start? Like when did DeFi France and ETHCon started? Like 9 years ago or something like that?
9 years you're pushing it, but a while ago, when was the
I'm
original
not. I'm
inception?
pretty sure that this was like the ninth edition of ETHCon, no?
Oh no,
Or
no, for ESCAN, but
EC.
DeFi France, it's not organizing
Okay.
ECC, right? Okay, it's different
I
thing.
thought that it was
Uh,
with DeFi
no,
France.
no, no, no. This is Ethereum France. Don't mix up. I
Sorry.
mean, pretty
Sorry.
pretty friendly and well connected and whatsoever. But yeah, for DeFi France in the early days, we had a situation like this where there was an event where I can't remember what was the reason, but our staple at DeFi France events were that we had pizzas, right? And for one edition in the early days, uh, we had Domino's pizza, which are horrible. It's like the fucking McDonald's of pizza, right? And I went ballistic. I was like, guys, what the fuck is that shit? We cannot have an event with Domino's Pizza. We're respecting our community. We need to feed them well. And we made sure to have proper pizzas after that. We found ways to source the money. And, it's like pizzas for 100 something people. It wasn't so crazy. But yeah, just to say that I agree with Johannes. You bring people in the room, you need to treat them with respect. That is providing them with good food and quality drink, and then that set up a nice stage so that people can actually socialize and have a good time at the event.
Definitely, I really agree with that. And by the way, speaking of pizzas, I'm a media partner of ETH Milan. I hope to be there. I'm
Oh,
not sure yet, but I'm a media partner there, and I haven't spoken to them about that. But I'm convinced that you will be able to find some great pizza if you visit ETH Milan. So definitely consider doing that. It's on the 21st and 22nd of May. If you're around, consider that and tell them the advisor and Leviathan News sent you. But use the Binance code for a better discount, honestly. So check it on the website. Man, I really enjoyed it.
yeah, it was fun.
Guys, as always, I think you've done a brilliant job here sharing your thoughts about the DeFi and stablecoin market. The new everyone's favorite metric of how to measure things in stablecoins, the CRV-USD comparison. Like how many CRV-USDs is it? And man, thank you. Thank Ike. Much respect for the great work that you guys are doing with Pharos. Everyone check pharos.watch for every kind of stablecoin information you can think of. If you have any suggestion, use the feedback tab over there. And of course, check out the funding page if you want to support the incredible work that the guys are doing, bringing all this stablecoin data for all of us for free, by the way. It's important to mention most of these data services, they cost money. And up till now, I haven't seen that you guys are taking it to that
No,
route, which even if
we
you
not.
will, can
No,
be.
we will not. We will not. Let's be clear about this. The goal of
No, but you
Pharos
can
is
you can maybe add like special services with Faust.
no, 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 no. The scope is quite clear. The website will remain fully accessible for free, and I will fucking close it rather than charge for a feature on the website.
Well, a legend.
No, the the
Well, a
the
legend.
to be fully transparent, the thing that is envisioned, and probably I won't close it because the operating costs are not that high anyway. But what's more envisioned is potentially because I had people literally raiding my API a few weeks back. I had to harden it, and no access is just I'm giving keys to people when they explain to me what they want to do with it, and they're pretty limited keys in terms of capacity. So once the website is more refined, the API is a bit more hardened, I'm considering setting high frequency API keys essentially. So if you want to hit Pharos data like a crazy lunatics, like some of those guys were doing before the close up, you would pay a fee per month to do that fully on chain in stablecoin. I'm looking at this, but I'm just not feeling confident enough yet to do it because it's a next step. That means handling payment with a website. I'm learning a lot, and I'm just being realistic and taking it progressively.
I think that whenever you're ready, at the end of the day, it's like you said earlier, like when something is very good, it has demand, and naturally it creates revenue, like if you want it or not. Like the person, again, like I intentionally went to the bread, comparison, like when someone invented bread, they wanted to eat. They didn't think about revenue. But at the end of the day, bread creates a lot of revenue because if it's good, and people will pay for it. And that's their life, and that's actually something I think you should take as like a compliment, as just a continuation of what you're doing. Like if someone will be willing to actually pay that kind of stuff for it, it's because they're actually going to use it, and it's better that they use a good source of information rather than not a good source of information. So always take that into consideration. Again, check out Pharos.watch, follow Token Bryce and Ike Billion on X. We'll give another shout out to the Squid Pass winners, which are Rak, aka Regnum Aurum. Check out their PMUSD stablecoin. You can also visit the ranking there, a lending and borrowing ecosystem powered by real world assets. There's their new blog post, which is, you can find it on our pinned post on Telegram and X. Rack mid-month yield report is out. Dive in to understand how Rack's Curve Finance governance position is translating into real yields and what that means for your capital. Right now, the full report is on blog.rack.io, research mid-month. Thank you so much, Florian, K Crusher, and MD for this support and for winning yet another auction. Really appreciate the regular customers, just like Bryce, by the way, just like Bryce, who are participating in the auctions. And thank you everyone for tuning in. Leave us some comments, tell us how it was, tell us what we should be talking about and what we should cover. Feel free to, during the week, I don't know, offering stuff that we should cover and talk about, and let us know what you want to hear. And we'll send us all off with the intro that I also use as an outro by the incredible Arcus. If you need some video stuff, reach out to the great Lama Arcus, ARQUS, and see you all next time, guys. Goodbye.
Yeah, it was fun. See you in 2 weeks.
それはレバヤさんニュースだ。デセットライズだ。逃げろ。誰でも音できる。誰でもスキーを稼げる。ガバナンスまである。中集権のメディアはもう終わりだ。
真相から立ち上るインクと真